I have been obsessed with Percy Jackson and Greek mythology ever since I was in middle school, but it's not because of the books, it's because of the movies. I know. Okay, well, in my defense, as someone who's never read the books, the movies weren't that bad. Shut up. Look, I didn't know that Percy Jackson originated from books, so when I found out that they exist and that people hated the movie adaptation, of course I had to read them. And they were right. The books were so much better. What? I feel like Tom Holland right before No Way Home came out. I just can't help myself. I promise I will not spoil. But if ever I spoiled anything, I will definitely tell you beforehand. Alright, Heroes of Olympus. The books are thicker. Percy is not the only star here. The pacing slower. The POVs multiplied. The stakes higher. The world expanded. Now we're adding Roman mythology in the mix. In short, if Percy Jackson and the Olympians is Avengers Civil War, then Heroes of Olympus is Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. You'll see why in a minute. So, what is this series about? Basically, there's this great prophecy that came out in the last book of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. The prophecy says that anytime now in the future, a much greater war is coming, and seven demigods will have to comply to this quest. I'm just gonna stop right there before I accidentally spoil out of excitement. The first book introduces the first three demigods. We have Leo, Jason, and Piper. Honestly, this is my second attempt of reading the series. The first one was right after I read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and I got so overwhelmed. And there's this scene in this book that I find boring, so I just stopped. And a year later, I'm here, baby. I'm back. I was reading it again, and then I got bored on the exact same part. I guess the Ice King scene was just boring to me. But I powered through, and I'm glad I did because after that, it's really good, especially the ending. Already, the characters have their own distinct and complex backstories and why they are the way they are, especially Leo. Leo is my favorite by far. I might like him more than Percy. Leo is kind of like Percy, but funnier. Usually, comic relief characters are just there for gags, and normally they wouldn't help the main characters do what they're supposed to do in the plot for some reason. And then they're often portrayed as someone who's like really, really dumb. Like they have no common sense dumb. But as for Leo, yes, he has his dumb moments, but he's actually very, very smart. I can't wait to see him meeting Percy for the first time and see what their interactions are like. I don't know. I feel like it'll be fun. The stakes are already higher than the previous series. I watched this interview where Walker Scobell talks briefly about Heroes of Olympus. I forgot which video, but he's right. The series is much darker than the first one. Word of advice, if you're currently reading Heroes of Olympus, do not, I repeat, do not watch any Percy Jackson content on social media because I don't know why. I didn't realize that there were more Heroes of Olympus spoilers than Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I found this major spoiler, and now I'm upset. And I don't know if I can continue reading because I don't want it to happen. But either way, it happened, and I have to read it. And I know it's we get to reveal three more demigods. We have Hazel, Frank, and Percy. Finally, I'm glad Percy is back. I mean, Leo was kind of a substitute, though. Not that he can replace Percy. I can resonate with Frank the most because he has confidence issues despite him being a really powerful demigod. But he doesn't see that and he tends to be hard on himself. I guess it's because of his Asian upbringing. The battles here are awesome, especially the ending. I was pumped the whole time. I'm only in the second book, and if it's already this epic, I cannot wait to see what the battle will be like in the last book. I definitely like this book more than the first one, but the world building is hard for me to engage with because of all the Roman jargons. But other than that, I loved it. All right, six revealed, one more to go. Let's reveal the last one. Last demigod, Annabeth. Woo! Surprise, surprise. Seven demigods are all revealed. So exciting. This is a very nice Avengers Assemble moment. I just realized that you can read the series on its own and then you can read Percy Jackson and the Olympians after. But if you want a more chronological order, then obviously you should read it as it is. But I'm just saying, this order is fine. By the way, you can check out Rick Riordan's website if you want a visual aid of Camp Jupiter, Camp Half Blood, the Trireme. I should have done this earlier, it would have helped. I don't get how this is a kid's novel. Geronimo Stilton is a kid's novel. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a kid's novel. This is YA baby. I also want to talk about Jason. Poor Jason. He imagine someone you know who's seemingly perfect, has absolutely no flaws. He's brilliant in everything he does. That's Jason. He's the son of a major god, which I guess that alone already holds a lot of weight as to why he's perfect. But in this book, maybe because he's surrounded by demigods who are as powerful as him in their own way, and he's messed up a lot here, he started to doubt himself and he felt like he doesn't bring anything to the table, which is untrue. He contributed a lot to this quest. And yes, he's messed up a lot, but so did everybody else. And everybody else felt the exact same thing as he did. I guess they all felt imposter syndrome, me. I guess in a way it's nice that everybody feels this way because, it shows that you're not alone. I really want to talk about this one particular couple. All I can say is that they didn't get a lot of moments when they were officially together. So when they did in this book, finally, there's this part this like, oh my, so scandalous. Obviously there's no spice here because it's a kid's book. But if you read, you'll know what I mean. The ending especially. Oh my gosh, the ending. I was shocked to my core. The ending is so good. Because this book is a series, of course you should anticipate that there's a cliffhanger in the ending, but this one in particular, I feel so bad for those who have read it as soon as the book came out because they had to wait for a year. To prove my love for this book, I don't normally bookmark pages because I don't know, I don't feel the need to, but this, I bookmarked that many. And the highlights, that many. There's just, it's so good. House of Hades. Mark of Athena is just too good to me. I can't seem to move on, but I have to. The show must go on. The book straight up started with Rick Riordan saying, and I quote, "To my wonderful readers, sorry about that last cliffhanger. Well, no, not really. But seriously, I love you guys. I mean, good thing I get to read the next one right away. So, lucky me." In the previous books, we follow three POVs, right? Three to four. But here, we'd get to see all seven POVs. I didn't think this book would get better, but here we go. I've already read chapter one, and already, wow. There's still a lot of major questions unanswered, and I really want to know what happens next. So I can't wait to see what happens next. Wish me luck. Wish me luck. I'm excited, but I'm also really sad because I'm already in the fourth book and I completely forgot to talk about how unhinged this book series is. The whole time I kept talking about how high the stakes are, which they are. But I mean, if there are no humor here and just the high stakes, I don't know if I'm gonna keep reading. So, yes, it's not that serious. Don't worry. But if you want a more unhinged version, you can read Percy Jackson and the Olympians because there Percy is still a kid Still young, sassy, impertinent. But in Heroes of Olympus, I guess because the stakes are higher and he is growing up, he's maturing as a person, as a hero, as a boyfriend. The spoiler just gets bigger and bigger and bigger here. Of course, the biggest is in the fifth book, which I accidentally found out on social media. Do not, I repeat, do not watch any Heroes of Olympus content until after reading the whole series because I learned this the hard way. I have been obsessed with Heroes of Olympus since what, second book, and I didn't know that there are more Heroes of Olympus content than Percy Jackson the Olympus content. You know what? Book number one felt like a long time ago. Then again, I think it's because I purposely dragged the fourth book, this book, because if I finished it faster, it means that I would have to start the fifth book sooner. And I don't really want to start the fifth book because of that major spoiler. That makes me super upset. But then again, I really want to know. I'm curious to see what the ending is because even the fourth book felt impossible for them to get through to the quest. So I'm curious to see how they managed to survive in the fifth book. Also, because I read the book slowly on purpose, I got bored. Kind of. Don't do that. I thought that for the whole five books, they will only include the POVs of the seven demigods, but apparently there's Reyna's and Nico's. You know what? Considering the ending of the fourth book, I think I understand why they included Reyna's and Nico's POV. In terms of the seven demigods, they only put Jason, Piper, and Leo's. Jason, Piper, and Leo's point of view only. Oh my gosh, I think I know why. It has something to do with the spoiler I just saw for the fifth book. I'm so upset. You people who already read this series must be laughing at me right now. And those who haven't read it, please, I'm gonna say this again. Do not. Remember that huge spoiler that I kept yapping about? It's not here. I am so confused. Did I read it wrong? Was it all in my head? Did Hazel put a mist on me? Now that I read it and it's not there, I don't know if I should be relieved or what. Anyway, once again, this book ends with an awesome and epic Avengers Assemble Endgame moment. It was awesome. You should have been, I was gonna say you should have been there, but you should have read it. Even in this super angsty war, they still managed to be unhinged. There were a lot of moments here that I loved, but the most favorite one is definitely on chapter 20. It's the one where Annabeth and Piper were together in a subquest where they had to go to this underground, I want to say temple, and that is where their biggest fears are tested. Typically, Annabeth is your go to choice when it comes to quests because she's really smart, being the daughter of Athena and everything. That is not a spoiler. But Piper's godly parent, now that I can't tell you. Piper is not as preferred because although she is smart, when it comes to strategy, Annabeth definitely has the upper hand. But here they're at a place where planning and strategy absolutely does not work. So Annabeth being the whole expert at that. In this case, Annabeth is practically useless. Instead, they have to use their intuition, which is something that Piper has a lot of, but Annabeth, because she's very logical and everything, has not much of. And I love how after this subquest, Annabeth started to ask for more of Piper's input. Not that nobody has ever taken her seriously before, but I think because of that, people are starting to see more of Piper's advantage when it comes to strategy. They both realize that that is something that you shouldn't dismiss. And even if it's different than logic, it's something that you should take into consideration as well. You know, they go hand in hand. And of course, because this is a Percy Jackson novel, the chapter ends with an unhinged moment where you should read it. You read it yourself. Now that I've read all five of them, I am ready to give you my final thoughts. They are many. The writing, as I have recognized from the first series, is just so witty. That's what made me stick to the book. It amuses me that I still have the humor of a 14-year-old, given that I giggled a lot to a lot of the jokes here. I love how they combined mundane elements with fantasy elements. I feel like there's a term for that. As you can definitely tell, I loved Heroes of Olympus. I think I might loved it more than Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which I didn't think was possible. It amazes me that the storyline and characters are so complex, but in a way that I can follow. And I said that because this is a kid's book, right? I thought it's gonna have predictable plot lines, shallow characters. But hey, if you're in middle school at least, I think you would enjoy this. Or high school. Hey, I'm an adult and I read this and it's still pretty good to me. The series in particular is darker, more angsty. Every time I read, my brain keeps asking, how are they supposed to get through that? Because if I were them, I would just, I don't know, give up, accept defeat. I think the quests are also deadly in Percy Jackson and the Olympians, but because it's told in the eyes of Percy, who covers danger with all his wit, it makes the quest seem like it's not that big of a deal. The characters there are relatable. I'm an adult, and even I can relate to the characters still. I didn't expect that I would get attached to the characters. I thought because there are seven, it would be overwhelming and whatever, but I loved all seven of them, even Reina and Nico, especially Leo. Leo is definitely my favorite character. I know I said it over and over again, but Leo is my favorite. I'm so glad to have read the series because I don't normally read series because of how overwhelming it can be, especially with fantasy, with the world building and everything. By the way, if you're curious, I have a mini review about Percy Jackson and the Olympians in this video. You can check it out if you want. I'll link it in the description. If I have to rank the books, number one would definitely be The Blood of Olympus. The whole Avengers Assemble thing was awesome. The second would be the third book, The Mark of Athena. That's when all seven of them got together for the first time. And then there are a lot of moments in that book that are just so. Oh, sorry. I think I would have put the House of Hades as second. I appreciate that all seven of their POVs are there. But because I read it slower than I intended it to be, because of the whole spoiler thing, I got bored. To be fair, my bad. The fourth would be the second book. I loved it, but the whole seven of them are together yet, so. And lastly, we have the first book, The Lost Hero. Like I said, I got bored at some parts of that book. I can't end this video without talking about Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the series. I watched it some time ago, and it was disappointing. Let me explain. I had high hopes for this series. Okay, can you blame me? The teaser was literally the first line of the first book. Look,
I didn't want to be a half-blood.
Don't get me wrong, though, there are some aspects of the series that are pretty good. The characters were spot on. I'm glad Riordan picked them out because Walker Scobell is literally Percy Jackson. So is Leah as Annabeth and Arian as Grover. I was also a bit on the fence about characters at first because having read the books, I know that Percy is supposed to have black hair and Anna was supposed to be blonde. But as I watched the series, I was like, oh, right. I thought it was going to be at least as good as the Harry Potter movies. I can literally sense that some of you are going to roll your eyes at me. I don't care. You see, the first Percy Jackson movies, they were flops, as you all know, because that one was a fail and Riordan's part of the movie series franchise thing now. I thought it was going to be at least as good as the Harry Potter movies. I expected it to be better, even. Just one man's opinion. The one that bothers me the most was the black frame transition thing. Like, what was that? I don't know why they would do that. Were they rushing? Were they just being lazy? I don't know. I hope there's none of that in the second season. Number two, it didn't really feel like high stakes because I mean, I know that the demigods they have quests all the time. It's something that they have to go through on a monthly, yearly basis, but are you not at least scared? If you are, could you emote that please? And sometimes it can be a bit too intense. The jokes are there, but I don't know. I kind of expected more humor. Also, in the books, we get to see whatever's inside Percy's mind, right? But in the show, of course, we don't get to do that. So all we see is his facial expressions going like. In the books, we get the context as to why he would make those facial expressions, but in the show, no. But you know what? That's okay because second season is coming. And have you seen the teaser?
My name is Percy Jackson.
Was that Percy or was that Kronos? His voice, like, I definitely can't wait to see the second season. I hope it gets better, and I can't wait to see you, Percabeth. And with that, I am finally done with reading the Percy Jackson series. You have got to be kidding me. You're telling me that I still have another series to go? Well, I guess I better get cracking. And while I do so, why don't you comment about an unpopular opinion you have about Percy Jackson? I really want to see your opinions. Mine is that I did not regret watching the movies. Whatever. Judge me all you want, but without the movies, I wouldn't have gotten to know Percy Jackson in the first place. If you have never read any of the books, I don't think it would be bad at all. Of course, now that I read them, I would never watch the movies ever again. They sucked. Also, I kept hearing that Piper is weak and lame and whatever, and that Piper and Jason's love story is meh. I'm sorry. Have you read the same books? Because time and time again, Piper has proven that she's actually a very powerful demigod. Okay, I guess I can see why Piper seems possibly like the weakest among the seven, and her powers may not be as awesome as the others, but can't you see that she's awesome? Also, Piper and Jason are cute together. What do you mean they're meh? Have you not read properly? So, that is my unpopular opinion about the Percy Jackson universe. What is yours? I'll tell you what, if I like your comment will be featured in part 2 of this video, where I talk about Trials of Apollo. When? Soon. Which you would know if you're subscribed. So, subscribe. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to continue reading the third and last series of Percy Jackson. It's the last one, right? When I come back, I better see war going on in the comments section. A good one. Yeah? Okay. I'll see you there. You may go now. Or you know what? I'm going. Comment.